Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for June 19th through 25th. This week I read one book, I watched 4 shows, I watched one movie, and I listened to one book. At this point you might have several questions running through your head, mainly why is this lit so poorly? And that's because I'm filming this in the bathroom of a hotel room because Chad is still sleeping. From that you might ask why we're in a hotel room, and that's because we attended Chad's brother's wedding last night. So from that you might intuit that this was a very busy week, and yeah, it was. The week started out with my best friend doing my hair, which is why it looks amazing. It's a little unkempt right now because I didn't even bother brushing it because you don't brush curly hair. But then the very next day somebody sideswiped Chad's car, which meant that we were scrambling to figure out whether or not we'd even be able to attend the wedding, and yeah, it's been a busy week, which is why I didn't read, watch, or listen to a lot compared to other weeks. Mind you, the book I read was almost 500 pages, so it kind of evens out. I also finished the Hunger Games inspired cross stitch I've been working on for just over a month. Over 22,000 stitches. Anyway, mini life update aside and explanation as to why I'm filming in not the best conditions, but you know, whatever, it's fine. I filmed in worse locations. In fact, I was recently reminded that 4 years ago I did my weekly entertainment wrap-up from an airport, so I just do this on the fly, really. The one book I read this week was The Electric Air by Victoria Lee. This is the follow-up to The Fever King. This is the second in the duology. There are apparently a couple of novellas. I believe there's one that comes after this and there's one that comes way before this, but I haven't read those yet. Being the second in a series, there's not a lot plot-wise that I can really talk to you about, because if you haven't read the first one, it won't make any sense. But the first one is set in a world that is about 100 years in the future from our world, and there has been a large plague of magic, essentially, that has gone around and has decimated the population. This is set in what used to be the United States, but it's basically been broken up into 3 different areas and then a quarantine zone where this virus just kind of runs rampant. And the thing with this virus is either you get it and you die within about 24 hours, or you get it and you survive and then you have some form of magical power, and then you can train to use that magical power to do different things. In this series we follow 2 different boys. Gnome, who is about 16 when he gets the virus and then is suddenly in this world where he now needs to get back into his schooling because he gave it up to take care of his father and learn how to use his magic. And then the other one is Dara, who has had the magic since he was about 4 and was basically raised up by one of the governmental higher-ups, who is actually 124 years old because he got it when he was a child, and basically he's been keeping himself alive with the magic ever since. Something of note with this series is it is very important to look at the trigger warnings ahead of time. This one has to do with many different types of assault. This one obviously has to do with some forms of war. This one has to do with child-based assault of a very adult nature. There's certain words you can't say without YouTube getting mad about it, so you can figure it out based on that context what I'm trying to say. And these books have some very traumatic reveals about characters, so know that going in. I ended up really enjoying these and trying to figure out how they were going to solve the problem that they needed to solve, but these are definitely not for the faint of heart when it comes to the traumatic events you will see in them. On to the shows I watched this week. I caught up on the previous week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars. Because it airs on a Friday, if I'm busy on that Friday, I don't tend to watch it until, say, the Sunday or the Monday afterwards, so that's the case for this week. I didn't watch this week's yet. I will probably watch it either later today or when I get back to Victoria. That means the most recent episode that I've watched was the girl group episode, as well as the Night of 1,000 Dolly Partons. As I've said before, I'm kind of enjoying the fact that nobody goes home and it's just a celebration of people doing great things. And I'm really wondering if they're going to throw more curveballs in when it comes to the star system, because I guess there's only a few more episodes left, so it's going to be difficult to figure out who's getting stars, and how it's going to be really clear who has the most stars if all of them basically have the same at this point. We also watched the last couple of episodes of Inventing Anna. This is such an interesting case, and I feel like I'm going to have to read Rachel's book next, because I know that she wrote a book. 1, it's mentioned in this series, but 2, I remembered hearing about it while the series was going on, and I was like, wait a second, that character wrote a book called My Friend Anna, so anytime that character said My Friend Anna, or anyone said that specific phrase, I always kind of giggled to myself a little bit. And it's interesting to know that she is out of jail now for the various crimes she was convicted of. While my best friend was fixing all of this, we also watched the first 8 episodes of the 2nd season of The Masked Singer. I like watching this show with her specifically because we can watch the episodes back to back to back to back, and she's seen it before, so if I guess correctly who somebody is, she will tell me, and that's a way more fun way of doing it than trying to actually wait until the end, until people are kicked off or until they win, to figure out if you're right. For example, it was only a couple of episodes in that I correctly guessed who Fox is, and I'm very excited for that reveal because I really like this person. The caliber of the clues are much more difficult from here on in, apparently, and I believe that because I don't have a clue on other people. I do enjoy when people make guesses as to who it could be, and I'm just like, no, it can't be that person because that's not that person's voice. There are certain people that if they were on the show and I heard their voice, I'd be like, yeah, that's obviously this person, and every time they guess somebody like that, I'm just like, no, you're just clearly wrong. Strangely enough, there was also a celebrity on the show that follows me on Twitter, and I don't know why or how she ended up doing that, but she still does. I checked. I was like, we are still mutuals. I don't know why, but I'm okay with it. I also finished watching the new series of Iron Chef, and that included the episode with the chef with the highest points going against all 5 of the Iron Chefs, which was just a wild challenge if you think about it. She is having to make 5 different dishes, and each of those chefs is just having to make 1 dish, and they get the same amount of time, and she only has 2 prep cooks. Like, that is a wild challenge, and I really hope they continue making these episodes because it's always fun to be back in Kitchen Stadium. The one movie we watched this week was a rewatch, and that was Deadpool. We were actually watching it when we heard this crashing sound outside, and we're like, what is that? Is that thunder? And I'm like, nope, that's somebody sideswiping your car. Deadpool is one of those movies where you're just like, this was the role that Ryan Reynolds was made for. This is just right up his alley when it comes to his type of humor. It's raunchy, it's ridiculous, it's wrong in points, but it's got this weird charm to it. The book I listened to this week is The Fastest Way to Fall. This one was interesting. We have this girl named Britta. She works at a magazine and she's trying to get one of the writing positions. And she comes up with this idea where there's a new fitness app out where you can sign up for it, give them your information, and then you actually have a one-on-one coach. And she wants to do that so she can review the app, but somebody else who is also trying to get that same position is doing that with one of their rival apps. The app that she will be reviewing is called Fit Me, and the other one is called Hotter You. Our second perspective is a guy named Wes. He actually created the app Fit Me and works on the behind the scenes and that type of stuff, but he's always really loved the coaching, and one of the guys he works with who also helped create the app is like, you should like take on at least 1 client because you always seem to be doing better when you've got like somebody else to focus on. So he takes on a couple of clients, and one of them happens to be Britta, who is reviewing the app, but they don't know who each other is because you're not supposed to give that type of information on the app. What complicates things further is Wes's ex-girlfriend, who is almost going to be his ex-fiance. She broke up with him just as he was about to propose. She actually works for Hotter You, and they are doing some shady things. It gets to the point where Britta and Wes are having these fairly intimate conversations over the app, just talking about their lives and that type of thing, and then one day she just sends a message that says help and then doesn't send anything else. And Wes freaks out and basically makes the guy he works with tell him where she lives so he can go find her and help her, and that's how they meet in person for the first time. And they still don't know the extent of each other's lives. Like, he doesn't know that she is writing articles based on the app, and she doesn't know that he is the founder of the app because he goes by Wes, but his first name is Christopher, so if you look at who developed the app, that's what it says. But basically the only person that calls him Christopher is his mom, which is a whole other side plot. She's got her issues. I really enjoyed getting to know these characters. There were many layers to it. There was obviously ethical things. This also made me want to start working out because the thoughts and feelings that Britta has about the whole workout industry are very similar to thoughts and feelings I have had, where I'm like, I know that for my own personal health, I should work out on occasion. I should get more exercise. I spend most of my time on the couch, so I should get up just to keep my health up, but I don't want to be so focused on things like losing weight and all that. And it's scary as a person who could stand to lose some weight to be a person that tries to do some exercise because people are doing it because you don't have the right body. It's a whole miasma of just all of these different conflicting thoughts that make it just so much easier for me to just sit on the couch and not get up and go do the things that make me sweat, because I don't actually enjoy sweating. I enjoy after I've finished it. I don't enjoy doing it. So all in all, I would recommend this one. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. too. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!